Hey everyone, Simon here. So this is going to be about what is the real Bitcoin chart. And I think the problem that we as astrologers run into when trying to predict the ups and downs of anything, whether it's a person's life or a game or a stock, or in this case, Bitcoin, is having the correct chart and information. And so, as far as I'm concerned, there are three possible charts that it can be, and this can be very frustrating. So, out of the three possible charts, one is the one that coincides with what Wikipedia says is the birth time or the birth date of Bitcoin, which is January 9th. Now, this says January 8th, 2009, if you can see this here. But that's in Arizona time, Mountain time, because this is in the time zone that I'm in. How do I know that? Because if you go to this other site, you will see here that it says January 9th, 2:54 a.m. This is London time. So we don't know the place. Obviously, we don't know where Bitcoin was mined, where this block one happened. But if it was London or Dublin, Ireland, same time zone, it was January 9th, 2:54 in the morning. So that's one possibility. That's the same as this chart that says January 8th, 7:54 p.m. because it's exactly 7 hours behind 2:54 a.m. Work it out. 7:54 is 1954 plus 7 is 26. And then you get 2:54. Okay, so this is for Phoenix, Arizona, or Mountain time zone. All right, so this is one possible. The other possible, so one is for January 9th, 2:54 a.m. Greenwich time. All right, that's one possibility. The other is what's called this is block one. You can go to the previous block, which is called the, the generation block? Genesis block, the Genesis block. And that was January 3rd. So you see that here? So January 3rd, 2009, 11:15 a.m. So 11 plus 7 would be 18:15 Greenwich Mean Time. Okay? Here's the problem. None of these really shows us why Bitcoin goes up and down. And I'm not going to go into, see, I have each of the charts here, by the way. Bitcoin for January 3rd, Bitcoin for January 8th, and the chart that I think it is, which is Bitcoin January 9th at about between 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. LA time. Okay? This is the chart that best, in my opinion, coincides with what has been happening with Bitcoin. I can prove it to you in a number of ways. And to do that, let's go ahead and take a look. So you can look at the other charts and see if you find correlation, but I would, and of course, and if those work for you, great. I'm not saying this you have to use this, and in fact, it's probably, it doesn't make sense why it works, but sometimes you have to go with what works after it's been reverse engineered. So this is the chart. Now, this is the Western system, but we can apply Vedic astrology techniques as well. This chart also, ironically, is the moon lagna, the chart of the moon ascendant. So it fits very nicely. This, of course, is the tropical version, but we can make it Vedic as well. It doesn't matter. What matters is that we're going to look at what's been happening to this chart and why Bitcoin went up in 2017 dramatically, and why it has consequently gone down in 2018. So let's see if we can answer those questions here. So here is that natal chart, and let's just put the transits up. Let's go to animate, and voila, we are in business. I'm going to clear all of this. All right, now I know this may look complex, but essentially what's going on is we have the basic chart here. There's the moon, right? This is the basic Bitcoin chart in the center. Outside of it is what's happening right now at December 6, 2018, as I recite this lecture or this lesson, okay? So this works, by the way, whether this chart is Vedic, sidereal, or Western, tropical, because here the inside is the main chart, the outside is the transit. Okay, it's the transit chart, meaning where the planets are at the moment. So take a look here. As I move this backwards, the first thing I want you to look at is that by transit, the Bitcoin sun is being hammered by transiting Pluto. And you can see that this started, by the way, we want this to be 1 degree of orb. So this would start basically right around here, right around end of October. Pluto is going to start cinching in. Now, like I said, the time may be off by an hour or so, and that may affect our dates by a day or two. But generally speaking, the closer this Pluto gets to approaching the sun, the more intense the aspects. You can see right now Bitcoin started to fall here in November, mid-November, and it continued. And look, as Pluto approaches its exact aspect, now this is where we are today. It's almost there. Bitcoin has fallen to below 3,500. It's 3,300 right now. But look, in a week, December 13th, Pluto passes. It's reached its maximum. Okay? So that's a good thing. At the same time, we have Saturn transiting Bitcoin, is about to start transiting Bitcoin sun. So that's not great either, but that's going to pass fairly quickly. You see, in a couple of weeks. So by the end of the year, yeah, this transit is well over. So I'm predicting that by the end of the year, end of this December, these transits will have done their worst. All right? Now, this is just one way to look at the chart. Here is another way and another explanation of why Bitcoin has been having a hard time. This is called secondary progressions. This is a Western technique that says, it's also a Vedic technique in the Bhrigu system that says every day after the birth of this chart counts for a year in the life of the chart. So if you're not sure what that means exactly, it's okay, but just watch what I'm going to show you here. I want you to watch this moon. So notice, by the way, that as I move this backwards, only the moon moves in the part of 4. Everything else is still, because things move very, very slowly in the progressed chart. So watch the movement of the moon. I'm going to move it forward. And as I move it forward, watch it get close to this degree, 20 degrees Sedna, and square this 19.5 degrees Chiron. This is called a grand T square. And Sedna and Chiron, according to the Magi astrologers, are the 2 biggest players in financial astrology. And when hard aspects like what this is happening right here, it started, let's see, 19 degrees. It should have started, Sedna's at 2020, right about here, 1922, 2020. So you see how it's 1 degree exactly away from Sedna. And right around there it is, mid-November, Bitcoin started to fall. It's also square to this Chiron and the North Node as well. So as we move forward, you see the moon move through. When it reaches its maximum, here it already has. So let's go back. Let's go day by day. When it reaches the maximum, which it's going to reach 2020 right there, December 14th, okay? Then this effect also should pass. So we can give it a few days, okay? Because again, we don't know how precise this is, but I think this is a good chart because it shows us why things are happening. Then look, let's go forward. This is done. then this aspect, 2047, 2020, we want to give it till the end of the year to really clear out. And now it's at 21 degrees, the beginning of January. Again, this correlates with the transit chart of Saturn being, rather Pluto being on the natal sun of Bitcoin. So these are two different and separate testimonies corroborating the influence of this chart for what's happening now. But what about what happened last year? Let's go back to 2017. And let's just go back when the really big rush happened, which was right around, what is it, November, the really big rush started happening, I believe. And actually, and I want to go to a different, let me go to another chart to show you that, which is called solar arc directions. This is also a Brigu technique in Vedic astrology, which for every day, you move every planet 1 degree forward. So looking at this, let's even start earlier. Let's start like August, July, June 2017. I just want to show you what's happening here, because these movements are very slow. So basically, solar arc directions you want to use to give you an idea of what the year is going to look like. And I'll show you what 2019 and 2020 are going to look like. So this is June 2017, when things start to really ramp up. Look at what's happening in the sky. First of all, Mars is coming up on the sun. Mars is coming up right, it's 18 and almost 19 degrees. Here's sun at 19. So as this year goes on, it's going to get closer and closer. And then Pluto is right up on Mars. These are two big influences. Let's see, let me move this here. So as I move this forward, just watch how Mars gets closer and closer to the sun here. September, we're 1910, and see where it reaches its peak. Look at this, 1927. Now we're in December. It's reaching its peak on the sun, and it comes off all the way in May. So like I said, these are very deliberate. Of course, we all know that it was in January that there was a big letdown, right? So the peak was actually in December. But still, we can see how this planet approaches the sun. Pluto has passed its peak here, right? So Pluto here passed its peak actually, in August. Okay, so again, these are a little more general because these are very slow moving influences, but nonetheless, they help us see a trend. So watch what happens now if we go forward a year. Do you see what's coming? Here's what I mean. I want you to take a look at the sun. Take a look at the sun at 29 degrees, 38 minutes as I move this forward. Notice that it's coming up on Jupiter. And as soon as it reaches, there it is, 0 degrees, it's within orb of Jupiter at 1 degree. And it's going to take all year because it takes a year for it to move 1 degree. Watch as I go forward. This is months at a time. It's going to reach its peak December 2019. It's going to touch Jupiter. I expect this to be a very strong time for Bitcoin. Now, there are problems. So that's using this chart. Let's go back to the transit. Now, by transit, there's going to be some problems. So look, nobody ever said this stuff was easy. Look at Saturn. By transit is going to be right on the natal sun. So while by progression, the sun is going to be activating Jupiter, by transit, Saturn is going to be depressing the sun. So there's very paradoxical things happening. Nonetheless, it will all play out. Everything plays out in Jyotish. The transit is more you can use it to time things more precisely. So let's go by week here, by weeks. And let's just go back to the beginning of the year. This is, voila, January. Let's go December. Okay, this is where we are now. Up here, more or less, this is where we are now. So you see Saturn is coming up on Mars. 9 degrees, so mid-December to late December, Saturn is going to transit Mars. Now we see, I mentioned this Pluto already on the Sun, but this is past already. And by the beginning of the year, Saturn will also pass. See, by Christmas, Saturn will also pass this here, Mars. So now January, things look clear. In fact, look, beginning of January, Sun is going to be exactly over Mars. That should be a big boost. And then the Sun is going to be over its own natal position at around 19 degrees the first week of January. So those are good boosts. Okay, so January looks good. Let's keep going forward. Keep going forward. What is happening here? Pluto's gone. This is gone. The Sun is going to touch Jupiter around January 22nd. That should be a nice day. Anyway, things look fine until Saturn gets right up here to 19 degrees. You see this? This is what we don't like. Let's go another couple weeks. Right around here. March, mid to late March, Saturn is going to conjunct the Sun. Not good. Not good. Jupiter by transit is going to conjunct Pluto. This is actually very good. So some mixed signals here. Oh, wait. No, sorry. Jupiter is at 24 degrees. What am I looking at? We want Jupiter to be at 1 degree. No, when Jupiter transits Pluto, by the way, and again, to reiterate, this isn't Western, this is just astrology. When Jupiter gets to 1 degree, things should be rocking, but that's not till later. And actually, that's going to be a very fast transit, so it won't be as strong as we would hope it to be. But back to Saturn. This is not a good time. March, end of March. Now Saturn is already passing. So this should be a little brief moment of respite, but guess what happens? It turned red. Saturn goes retrograde. He's going to go back over the Sun of Bitcoin. Not good. With what? With the south node of the moon. Not good. So March, April, May, not good. Okay, now they're both gone, so a little respite. So June, July should be a bump up. Okay. Then just watch their movements. They're down to 16, 15, 14. So these months should be good. These weeks should be good. But now look what else is happening. Pluto is coming back. No, he's not coming back. It's okay. He's stationed and he's going forward. But now Saturn and Ketu are going to come back. So right here, December, for a brief period, Saturn's going to touch the Sun again and then move on. All right, so what do we have to look out for? We have to look out for, let's see when that Jupiter, ooh, this looks very sexy. Look at this Jupiter on Mars here. Wow, this is going to be good. January of 2020 looks very strong also. So I'm predicting January of 2019, but especially January of 2020 to be very strong because of the transits, just because of the transits. Jupiter's transit here, and watch Jupiter's actually, I think, going to retro. No, Jupiter's going to reach the Sun in March. Oh, 2020 is just hellacious. Here's Mars, the Mars return. Wow, January, February, March of 2020 looks super strong. And now watch this Jupiter. I want you to watch what's going to happen here. Jupiter is going to retrograde. Look at Jupiter going to come back onto the Sun in July. My God, this whole year of 2020 looks just phenomenal. Jupiter is going to retrograde over. I'm not even looking at anything else here. Just the Sun, this. Because it's the slow transits that matter. It's the transits of Saturn and Jupiter and the nodes that really matter. So look at this Jupiter. It's going to go back on the sun, and then it's going to go over it again. There it is at 1920 in October. So 2020 is a phenomenal year. I don't know if you can hold on for that long, but yeah, hold on, ride the rush through January. There is going to be a bear market in the summer. So let's go back to the summer of 2019. The spring rather, starting the spring. Here we are. As Saturn approaches the sun. So I want to get you guys as sort of close to this as possible. Here's Saturn at 18 degrees. March 13th, he's getting close. Okay, we're getting very close now. And by the third week of March, Saturn has begun to influence here. So by third week of March, you can begin maybe selling, or you should have sold a little bit probably if you're in the market. This is not stock advice, by the way. This is just astrological advice, and not even advice. This is astrological examination. So here's Saturn. And now as K2 comes, this is not going to be good. Look at this. K2 and Saturn right on Bitcoin Sun in April. April, I do not like April. I personally am going to try not to hold a lot of coin in April. So April to me is the month to really look out for. May, let's see, now we're in May. Gosh, May neither May. Does not look good. So there's May. So April, May, not good. June, look at this. June 1, we're at the exact conjunction. June does not look good either. Let me see. Oh, Lordy. There should be respite by the end of June, though. Yeah. So by the end of June, things should start looking up. This is according to just the transit chart. Okay. The transit chart is very, very telling. So July, this comes off. But anyway, April, May, and parts of June look really bad. So you guys do whatever you want to do. And so look, as we move forward, there's going to be one more pass, I believe, in October, right around here. No, December, very briefly. And these things go. So April, May, June are the bad months. Okay. According to the transit. So let's look at now and by the way, we're trusting this. Why? Because these transits, let's go back to 2017. Because this chart has been, let's go back. These transits bore out. Look, Pluto, let's see, no, this is 2018. Yeah, Pluto on the sun is not good. This is not. So this is when the bad transit for Bitcoin began. And that's exactly when it went down. Look at this, mid-January, Pluto conjunct the sun. But when was the good stuff? Let's just go back a couple months. What was happening during the good stuff? Well, what do we have here? The south node, the nodes. The good stuff isn't as obvious from the transit chart. And that's the thing. When there are no bad transits, a thing will do what it naturally wants to do. It will rise. It will do well. Like now, I may be wrong. I may not be seeing something here. But the thing about stocks is you don't necessarily need a good transit. You just need to not have a bad transit. Then the stock will go up. So I'll say that again. You don't need clearly good, transits. You just need for the bad transits not to be present. And here, we got nothing. Look, the Bitcoin sun is clean. Pluto's not doing anything. Saturn's not doing anything. The nodes aren't really doing anything. What's Jupiter up to? Let's see. Jupiter's the good guy. He's at 1 degrees here, trining the moon. Okay, that's nice. Yeah, that is a nice transit, actually. But again, the more important part is that there's nothing horrible happening. And that transit, is gone because a month later, and this is when the big kick up started. And there's just nothing bad happening in the chart, at least by transit. Now we saw in the other charts, the progress chart, good things happening. So if you guys have any questions, so basically my prediction is this. Based on the Vedic chart, that number one, Saturn's effect on the B of Bitcoin is gone. Okay, that's a huge break that's been taken off, which means Bitcoin can now perform given that there's no other bad things holding it down. Well, end of December 2018, Pluto's transit on Bitcoin Sun eases off. So that's good. Number three, by progression or solar arc, Sun will join Jupiter starting January 2019. So my prediction is this. I like January and February and first half of March of 2019, most of March, and then April, May, and part of June looks terrible. Then it should rebound a little bit, should recover some June, July, August. And I haven't, I guess I'll make another video for the second half of 2019. But the big picture, as I see it, is the biggest gains. And I guess I'm revising my prediction. I thought 2019 would see the biggest gains, and we could see some big gains first 3 months. But it's 2020. 2020, January, February, March, April, May. It just looks strong all through 2020. So with Bitcoin at less than 3,500, I think it's 3,300 at the moment. It's very hard to be optimistic. I myself am sometimes not very optimistic. But looking at the chart, again, having faith that this is a chart that produces results, because again, it's not the exact Bitcoin chart as per the Genesis block or even as per Wikipedia. Nonetheless, it's a chart that, in my mind, shows me what's happening. So this is just my personal little opinion and prediction about Bitcoin and the price of the markets in 2019 and 2020. I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, bye for now.